Probably I was in the war. There was the mark of a wound behind my ear, an oblong of unfertile flesh where no hair grows. It is covered over now, and may be disguised by even the clumsiest barber, but no barber can hide the scar on my back. For that a tailor is more in order. When I stare into the mirror, I am returned a face doubtless more handsome than the original, but the straight nose, the mottled chin, and the smooth cheeks are only evidence of a stranger's art. It does not matter how often I decide the brown hair and the gray eyes must have always been my own. There is nothing I can recognize, not even my age. I am certain I cannot be less than 25, and it is possible I am older, but thanks to whoever tended me, a young man without a wrinkle in his skin stands for a portrait in the mirror. There was a time when I would try rather frantically to recall what kind of accident it had been, and where it had occurred. I could almost picture the crash of an airplane and the flames entering my cockpit. No sooner had I succeeded, however, than the airplane became a tank, and I was trapped within, only to create another environment. The house was burning, and a timber pinned my back. Such violence ends with the banality of beads. Grenades, shell, bombardment. I can elaborate 100 such, and none seem correct. Here and there memories return, only it is difficult to trust them. I am positive my parents are dead, that I grew up in an institution for children, and was always poor. Still, there are times when I think I remember my mother, and I have the idea I received an education. The deaf are supposed to hear a myriad of noises, and silence is filled with the most annoying rattle and tinkle and bell. The darkness of the blind is marred by erratic light. Thus, memory, for me, was never a wall but more a roulette of the most extraordinary events and the most insignificant, all laced into the same vessel, until I could not discern the most casual fact from the most patent fancy, nor the past from the future, and the details of my own history were lost in the other, common to us all. I could never judge whether something had happened to me or I imagined it so. It made little difference whether I had met a man or he existed only in a book. There was never a way to determine if I knew a country or merely remembered another's description. The legends from a decade of newsprint were as intimate and distant as the places in which I must have lived. No history belonged to me, and so all history was mine. Yet in what a state! Each time my mind furnished a memory long suppressed, it was only another piece, and there were so few pieces, and so much puzzle. During one period, I made prodigious efforts to recover the past. I conducted a massive correspondence with the secretaries of appropriate officials. I followed people upon the street because they had looked at me with curiosity. I searched lists of names, studied photographs, and lay on my bed bludgeoning my mind to confess a single material detail. Prodigious efforts, but I recovered nothing except to learn that I had no past, and was therefore without a future. The blind grow ears, the deaf learn how to see, and I acquired both in compensation. It was natural, even obligatory, that the present should possess the stage. And as time possessed the present, I began to retain what had happened to me in the previous week, the previous month, and that became my experience, became all my experience. If it were circumscribed, it was nonetheless a world, and a year from the time I first found myself with no name in my pocket, I could masquerade like anyone else. I lived like the hermit in the desert who sweats his penance and waits for a sign. There was none, and probably there will be none. I doubt if I shall find my childhood and my youth. But I have come to understand the skeleton, perhaps, of that larger history, and not everything is without its purpose. I have even achieved a balance, if that is what it may be called. Now, in the time I write, when other men besides myself must contrive a name, a story, and the papers they carry, I wonder if I do not possess an advantage, for I have been doing it longer, and am tantalized less by the memory of better years. They must suffer, those others like myself. I wonder what fantasies bother them.